Captain Maya Torres stood at the viewport of the UES Defiant, watching the massive Sovereign Empire warships materialize from hyperspace. Their crystalline hulls caught starlight. Supreme Commander Vaxthor faced the Sovereign High Council, his crystalline form dim with shame. The Grand Chamber's prismatic walls usually amplified each council member's bioluminescence into a dazzling display of power. Today, they pulsed with dangerous patterns of disapproval. "You lost an entire battle group to primitives," High Counselor Zewxra's voice cut through the chamber. "Explain yourself." The humans employed unprecedented tactics. Vaxthor projected his battle recordings into the chamber's psychic matrix. Their quantum phase technology shouldn't be possible with their level of development. The recording showed the devastating moment when the Imperial formation broke apart, fighters colliding in a cascade of crystalline shards. Several council members dimmed their lights in distaste. "Most concerning," another counselor noted, "is their apparent immunity to standard psychological warfare. No species has ever rejected an Imperial ultimatum before. That was the real problem. The Empire had conquered 1,000 species through a combination of superior technology and psychological dominance. Humans, inexplicably, seemed immune to both." A new figure entered the chamber, war strategist Kex Lee, her carapace bearing the rare black crystal modifications of the Empire's premier military mind. "Perhaps we've been approaching this incorrectly," she said. "These humans are primitive, yes, but they've demonstrated remarkable adaptability." Kex Lee interfaced with the psychic matrix, projecting data from other encounters with human forces. They study their opponents, identify weaknesses, and exploit them with unconventional solutions. Traditional conquest protocols are ineffective. "What do you propose?" Zewxra demanded. "We challenge them on their own terms." Kexley's bioluminescence pulsed with confidence. "Their historical records show they respect ritual combat. One warrior against one warrior, with clearly defined stakes." The chamber erupted in chittering debate. Ritual combat hadn't been used for conquest in millennium. It was considered beneath the Empire's dignity. "And if we lose?" a counselor demanded. "Impossible," Kex Lee replied. "Our champion will be Nexthor, augmented with our latest crystal tech. No human could possibly match him." Meanwhile, aboard the UES Defiant, Maya Torres received the Imperial transmission with skepticism. "They want to settle this with a duel." Admiral Chen's hologram nodded. "Their terms are simple, one champion from each side. If we win, they recognize our right to exist in this sector. If they win, we abandon our outer colonies." "It's a trap," Lieutenant Chen said from Tactical. "Has to be." Maya wasn't so sure. She'd studied sovereign psychology extensively since the first contact. Their rigid adherence to protocol was legendary. If they formally proposed ritual combat, they'd follow the rules precisely. "Who would our champion be?" she asked. "That's the interesting part," Admiral Chen replied. "They specifically requested Lieutenant Commander James Singh." Maya's eyebrows rose. Singh was the Defiance combat specialist, a former Special Forces operative who'd helped develop many of their anti-sovereign tactics. He'd also personally infiltrated 3 Imperial installations on recon missions. The Sovereigns shouldn't have known about him at all. "They've been studying us too," Maya realized. "This isn't just about settling the conflict. They want to understand how we think, how we fight." "Then perhaps we should show them," Singh's voice came from the doorway. The lieutenant commander entered the bridge, his dark eyes intense. "Permission to accept the challenge, Captain." Maya studied him carefully. Singh moved with the liquid grace of someone who'd modified their body for peak performance. Not with crystal tech like the Sovereigns, but with the latest in human bioengineering. More importantly, he thought like a human, adaptable, creative, unpredictable. "You understand what you're risking?" she asked. "Not just your life, but the fate of our outer colonies." Singh smiled. It was an expression that would have looked alien to the sovereigns, part confidence, part calculation, and part pure human determination. With respect, Captain, I understand exactly what I'm doing. They think they've found our weakness. Let's show them our strength instead. Admiral Chen's hologram flickered. The Security Council is divided on this. If you accept, you'll be on your own. No backup, no extraction plan. Just how I like it, Singh replied. Maya made her decision. Send our response to the Empire. We accept their challenge, with one condition: the combat takes place on neutral ground, observed by representatives from other spacefaring species. The response came within hours. The Empire agreed, naming an abandoned space station in unclaimed territory as the venue. The date was set for one standard week later. As Maya watched Singh prepare over the following days, she realized the Sovereigns had made another crucial mistake. They thought choosing the battlefield and format would give them an advantage. But humans had millennia of experience turning apparently hopeless situations into victories. The Empire was about to learn that the hard way. The neutral station hung against the backdrop of a binary star system, its ancient hull reflecting gold and crimson. Representatives from 12 spacefaring civilizations had gathered to witness the combat that would determine the fate of human expansion. James Singh stood in the preparation chamber, methodically checking his lightweight combat suit. No powered armor, no energy weapons, just smart fabric, reinforced joints, and a combat knife. The Empire's war strategist Kexley watched from the observation window, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights. Your champion brings a knife to face next door, she asked Maya Torres, who stood beside her. Even for humans, this seems irrational. Maya kept her expression neutral. We believe in appropriate tools for the job. The job being ritual suicide? Kexley's bioluminescence flickered with what might have been amusement. Nexthor has defeated champions from the Centaurian hegemony, the Vega Collective. Each was augmented with the finest battletech their civilizations could provide. And yet you're here watching our preparations instead of his, Maya noted. Worried? The war strategist's lights dimmed slightly. Studying. Your species is an anomaly. You achieve impossible victories through seemingly primitive means. We would understand why. Inside the chamber, Singh finished his preparations by drinking a small vial of clear liquid. The Empire's sensors would detect nothing unusual, just water and basic electrolytes. They wouldn't understand the billions of specialized nanomachines now integrating with his nervous system, the product of decades of classified human research. The station's ancient speakers crackled. Champions, report to the combat arena. Singh walked through corridors lined with representatives from across the galaxy. Some species he recognized, others were completely alien. All watched with various expressions of pity or disdain. They'd seen the specifications of both champions. On paper, this was no contest. The arena itself was a circular chamber 30 meters across, its walls reinforced with energy fields that would contain the combat while allowing perfect observation. Nexthor already waited inside, his crystalline form augmented with pulsing veins of black crystal tech. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his 4 arms ending in molecular-edged blades. I studied recordings of your previous missions, Nexthor's translator rendered his clicks into a surprisingly conversational tone. You are skilled, for a primitive. It will make this victory more meaningful. Singh rolled his shoulders, feeling the nanomachines completing their neural integration. Just skilled enough to get past your best security systems 6 times. 6. Nexthor's bioluminescence pulsed with confusion. Our records show 3 infiltrations. Singh smiled. Exactly. The station's AI announced the combat parameters: victory by surrender or incapacitation, no killing blows, no outside interference. The energy field separating the champions hummed and vanished. Nexthor moved with devastating speed, crystal blades singing through the air where Singh had been standing. But the human was already moving, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to flow around the attack like water. The gathered aliens murmured in surprise. "Impressive mobility enhancements," Nextor commented, launching another combination of strikes. "But you cannot dodge forever." Singh didn't waste breath responding. Every movement, every near miss was building his neural map of how Nextor fought. The nanomachines processed the data, identifying patterns and weaknesses in the crystal Tekka's response times. A blade caught Singh's shoulder, drawing blood. The aliens watching expected him to retreat. Instead, he moved closer, inside Nextor's guard. The crystalline warrior's confusion lasted only a microsecond, but that was enough. Singh's knife, seemingly primitive, found a gap between crystal plates and penetrated. Not deep, but precisely where human scientists had determined crystal tech interfaces were most vulnerable. Nextor's entire left side seized up momentarily. "Impossible," the Imperial champion growled. "Our weaknesses are classified beyond your species' ability to access." Singh pulled back, allowing himself a small smile. "You really should check your systems for quantum entanglement anomalies. We've been reading your secure databases for months." The revelation sent ripples of shock through the watching aliens. The Empire's security was legendary. The idea that humans had compromised it so thoroughly was paradigm-shifting. Nextor's response was to activate his final augments. Black crystal spread across his form like living armor, increasing his mass and power exponentially. The arena floor cracked under his weight. "Let's see how your primitive enhancements handle this," he snarled. Singh's smile never wavered. The real battle was about to begin, and everything so far had gone exactly according to plan. The arena trembled as Nextor unleashed his full power. Black crystal formations erupted from his body, transforming him into a living weapon. The watching aliens pressed against the energy barriers, transfixed by the display of imperial might. Singh's neural interfaces flashed warnings. The nanomachines calculated that a direct hit from Nextor's enhanced form would overwhelm his body's structural integrity. But they also detected something else: the crystal tech was producing enormous heat. "Your primitive scanning can't comprehend my final form," Nextor declared, his voice distorted by crystalline resonance. "Surrender now, spare yourself the humiliation of defeat." Singh shifted his stance slightly. "Interesting proposal. Counteroffer: your crystal matrix is already destabilizing." The Imperial champion faltered for a microsecond. "You lie." "Third law of thermodynamics," Singh replied, circling. "All that power has to go somewhere. Your heat sinks are already at capacity." A crack appeared in Nextor's shoulder plating, thin as a hair. The gathered aliens murmured. War strategist Kexley's bioluminescence pulsed with sudden understanding. "The knife strikes," she whispered. "He wasn't trying to damage vital systems. He was compromising the thermal regulation network," Maya finished. "Every enhancement Nextor activates just makes it worse." Singh moved like quicksilver, each motion precise and economical. Where Nextor's attacks shattered floor plates and left molten gouges in the walls, the humans seemed to flow through the spaces between, never quite where the blows landed. More cracks appeared in the crystal tech augments. Nextor's movements became increasingly desperate, each missed strike generating more heat with nowhere to dissipate. The Imperial champion had fallen into the oldest trap in human military history, being baited into overextending himself. "Your species," Nextor growled, "relies on trickery and deception. This is not honorable combat." "No," Singh agreed, ducking under a wild swing. "This is survival. Humans don't fight for honor, we fight to win." The nanomachines in Singh's bloodstream were working overtime, processing combat data and predicting stress patterns in Nextor's failing systems. They highlighted a point where multiple cracks converged, right above the primary neural interface. One strike there would end this. But Singh had to time it perfectly. Nexthor launched a devastating combination, all four arms moving in lethal arcs. To the watching aliens, it seemed impossible to avoid. But Singh had been waiting for exactly this sequence, the moment when maximum power output would meet maximum system strain. He moved. Not away from the attack, but through it. His knife found the convergence point just as Nexthor's crystal tech reached critical temperature. The blade penetrated less than a centimeter, but that was enough. The Imperial Champion's augments shattered in a cascade of crystalline fragments. Nexthor collapsed to one knee, his basic form intact but stripped of enhancements. The knife rested against his neural stem. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our technology is superior in every way." "Technology is just a tool," Singh replied quietly. "Humanity's strength isn't in our weapons or augments. It's in understanding how systems fail, including our own. We've lost enough battles through history to learn that lesson well." The arena fell silent. Representatives from a dozen species watched as a primitive human armed with a knife had systematically dismantled the Empire's greatest warrior. But more importantly, they'd witnessed something that would reshape galactic politics, the first proof that Imperial technology wasn't invincible. War strategist Kexley's lights pulsed with complex patterns. "Captain Torres," she said slowly, "I begin to understand why your species has survived so long despite your limitations. You don't evolve to match your challenges. We adapt the challenges to match our capabilities," Maya finished. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective." Singh stepped back, lowering his knife. "Do you yield?" Nexthor's remaining crystals dimmed in submission. "I yield." The High Council chamber on the Imperial throne world was uncharacteristically dim. The defeat of their champion had sent shockwaves through sovereign society, challenging centuries of assumed superiority. But for war strategist Kexley, standing before the council, it had revealed something far more important. "The humans must be contained," High Counselor Zyxra declared. "We cannot allow knowledge of Nexthor's defeat to spread." Too late, Kexley projected the latest intelligence. "Every species that witnessed the combat has already begun reassessing their technological dependence. 3 have requested diplomatic relations with Earth." The chamber's crystalline walls reflected the council's agitation. Their entire empire was built on the assumption that their crystal tech was insurmountable. One human with a knife had shattered that assumption. "Then we must strike now," another counselor demanded. "Crush them before they can share their insights with others." "That," Kexley's bioluminescence pulsed with emphasis, "would be our greatest mistake yet." She interfaced with the chamber's psychic matrix, sharing her analysis of human history. "Look at their pattern. Every time they've faced superior force, they've found ways to overcome it. Not through matching power with power, but through understanding and exploiting fundamental weaknesses." The Matrix displayed battles throughout human history, smaller forces defeating larger ones, primitive weapons overcoming advanced defenses, innovative strategies trumping superior numbers. "They're already analyzing everything they learned from this combat," she continued. "If we attack now, we won't face one Singh. We'll face an entire species that knows exactly how our technology fails." Meanwhile, aboard the UES Defiant, Captain Torres was having a similar conversation with Earth Command. The holographic conference room was filled with military and civilian leaders, all eager to capitalize on their victory. "Singh's performance exceeded all expectations," Admiral Chen said. "The nanite data alone will advance our crystal tech research by years. More importantly," Maya added, "we've changed how the galaxy sees us. And how the Empire sees itself." Singh himself sat quietly at the conference table, still wearing his combat suit. The nanites had healed his injuries, but he looked thoughtful. "They'll adapt," he said finally. "The Empire didn't conquer half the galaxy by being stupid. They'll learn from this." "Good," Maya smiled. "Because so will we." A signal chimed, priority transmission from the Empire. The room fell silent as war strategist Kexley's image appeared. Captain Torres, her translator, rendered her tones with unusual warmth. The High Council has reached a decision regarding our future relations. Maya straightened. This was the moment that would define human-sovereign relations for generations. We're listening. The Empire formally recognizes Earth's sovereign territory and right to expansion within agreed-upon sectors, Kexley announced. Furthermore, we propose a technological exchange program. There are things we could learn from each other. The humans in the room exchanged glances. This was more than they'd hoped for. And in return? Maya asked carefully. Kexley's crystals shifted to a pattern that humans were just beginning to recognize as respect. In return, you teach us how to think like humans. Your adaptability, your innovative approaches, these are worth more than any technology. To be clear, Singh spoke up, you want us to teach you how to beat us? No, Kexley replied. We want to learn how you turn weaknesses into strengths. The galaxy is changing. The Empire must change with it, or we will become as brittle as our crystals. The implications were staggering. The mighty sovereign empire, admitting they needed to learn from primitives. But Maya understood the deeper truth, this was how humanity would truly secure its place among the stars. Not through force or technology, but by teaching others to see things differently. We accept, she said. On one condition, this knowledge exchange goes both ways. You learn our adaptability, we learn your discipline. Together, we build something stronger than either of us could alone. Kexley's form brightened. Perhaps this is why your species survived despite all odds. You don't just overcome challenges, you transform them into opportunities. As the details were worked out, Maya looked around the conference room. Humans and aliens, working together to forge a new future. They'd come to the stars expecting to find enemies or allies. Instead, they'd found teachers and students, each with something vital to learn from the other. The real victory wasn't Singh defeating Nextor. It was proving that strength comes in many forms, and the greatest power lies not in dominating others, but in helping them grow. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly how humanity liked it.